right, we are back. This is Creativity is Secure. I'm your host, Malcolm Moore, and today I have a very special guest, my good friend, Meital Caldwell.
Hello.
And where are we today? Where are we speaking from?
We are speaking from a office in the Champs Charter High School of the Arts, 5th floor. What is that, like the administrative rooms? Something like that.
Something like that. And we're in Van Nuys, California. And this brings me to my next thing, the way we know each other, is I have been a substitute teacher at Champs School of the Arts in Van Nuys since, what would I say, like October. And I got to know your brother first, Leor, who is a very good saxophone player, and a few other instruments, right?
A few other. He started on trombone in middle school. He went to the jazz band, and then he was like, oh, I like saxophone. It's more of a solo instrument.
Yeah.
But he's good at all of it.
Yeah, and I got to know him, and you guys just both performed in Oliver, right?
He was
Pit band.
He was Pit, and I was ensemble, yeah.
Who did you perform as in the show?
So I played as technically three different characters. I was the Rose Seller in the streets of London. I was one of Fagin's street rat orphan thieves. And then I was also, in the very opening of the show in the orphanage, I was one of those orphans as well.
Oh, you got to march on the stage.
I did get to march onto the stage.
That was awesome. All right, so are you ready? We're going to go way back in time.
That'll be interesting.
I would like to know, what is your first creative memory?
So my memories are a bit of a strange place to be. And a lot of the stuff that I think I remember from early on is quite possibly just videos that my mom has shown me over and over again of me before I was even like cognitive.
Right.
One of the earliest videos that I can think of is me in our living room on like a tiny rocking horse singing like a Hebrew nursery song, and that's just like
rocking horse.
On a rocking horse, and just like yelling it out. A creative memory that I have very solidly. I used to write music a lot when I was younger in my head. Whenever I was like on the bus to school or just sitting in my room and bored, I didn't have a phone for like most of my childhood life.
Right. And just so everybody knows, you're in 12th grade. You're a senior, and what you're talking about now, how old?
So I would say around like 10.
Okay, wow.
Or probably younger, actually. But what I would do, which I think has helped me a lot now, I would just repeat these songs in my head again and again and again until I got home and I could write them down.
So you made them up?
I would make
like,
songs up.
I'm going to write a song, I'm going to be a singer. You're just like, this is fun. I'm just going to do it.
So everybody did tell me that I was going to be a singer. Whenever my grandparents really like AGT, America's Got Talent, stuff like that. Whenever we were watching that, they'd be like, that should be you up there. You should go on there right now. You're good enough to be there. And I was like, I don't know.
And you have such a cool name, Meital. You could be like Beyonce. You don't even need a last name. It would just be Meital.
I actually didn't think about it that way. It's a decently common name in Israel. It's a Hebrew name, so yeah. But one of the first songs that I remember writing, I thought this was a full song, but I remember singing it in the backseat of the car over and over and over again until I could write it down. And I went home to my little paper pad that was like pink and covered in flowers, and I wrote down 2 lines in one color, and that was my verse. And then 2 lines in another color, that was my chorus. 2 lines in the next part was my bridge. So in my head, I had a full, like, entire long song, and they're in different colors. It was like red, green, blue, but that's one of the first things that I remember, and I found it recently.
It's almost verging on like a type of synesthesia. Were you saying things in colors, or were you trying to just organize your thoughts? So
I think I was just trying to differentiate. I was like, okay, this is the verse. I have the verse. Now I'm going to go, this is the chorus.
Yeah.
And I was like, I'll use a different pen color for it.
Right.
Yeah. I could sing it for you if you want. I still have it memorized.
Let's hear it.
Like 9 years ago, and I still remember it. Okay, this is going to be bad. It's friendship forever. We'll do this together. I know it, and you got it deep inside. For honor, not power. They can't make you cower. We know it, and we'll do it. Do what's right. Don't let fear control what you do. Let courage rise and guide you through. Whenever you're scared, find bright light's way. Let faith show you the way. And then it just repeats. That was the whole song.
Now, how old were you when you made that?
Like 8, 9, 10, something like that.
That is a great melody. That's like
Why, thank you.
a lot of people could be singing that together.
Well, you know what, though? I think one of the reasons that the songs that I have from when I was younger are decent is because I had so many of them, but the ones that I actually remembered by the time I got home were the ones that were actually good.
Right.
So, but I still have it memorized. I don't have to look at it. Do
you have that fear like I do? You think of a great idea for a song in the worst circumstances, like now we all have our phones, so I use voice memo. But I remember before that, I was like going home and I didn't want to hear anything from anybody else.
That's what happened to me when I was younger. On the bus ride home, I would just repeat it over and over and over and over again, and that still happens to me now.
But when you got home back then, I don't know what the technology was. How would you get it down?
Oh, I would just write it down. I would have to keep singing it I would have to memorize it all the way.
Would you notate it, or are you just talking about the words?
I would just repeat it. I would just repeat it in my head over and over again.
Okay, but if you go home, how are you going to write it down to remember? Are you going to notate the notes?
Just the words. I wasn't there. I didn't grow up playing instruments or anything. My dad is like a casual like garage band guitarist. My mom is not a musician. So even though I grew up in a house full of music and I listened to a lot of it growing up, like neither of my parents were really musicians, so my gateway was singing. I didn't really play anything. Right. It was just
But you had a great sense of relative pitch, obviously.
Apparently, yeah.
Yeah. And did I read from what you sent me before, you had a grandmother that was musically talented?
Yeah, so the people on both sides of my family are very talented at singing. None of them have pursued it professionally, except my great-grandmother on my dad's side of the family. Right. She was a pianist. I think she was like some sort of prodigy or something. I don't know much about her, but she was a composer and a pianist. And she passed away right around when my grandmother was born, so we don't have a lot about her, but whenever I go over to my grandma's house, I see one of her compositions on the wall. And my grandmother, respectively, is a wonderful at-home musician. Like, she plays by ear. She will watch YouTube tutorials online and learn piano parts on guitar. And she's just a really, really wonderful musician by ear. And so is my father. So I do have a very musical family, but again, not in a professional sense, more of just a love of it at home.
So it sounds like you grew up in a very creative environment, at least an environment that supported creativity.
I really did. Whatever I got interested in, there was a lot of support for it at home. When I first, during COVID, when I first got into guitar, I was given a guitar from my grandmother that she'd had since she was in her 20s. I got all this different support from my family. Whatever I wanted to do, they were fully behind me pursuing it, and they were fully confident that I could really pursue that as my future, which was a little daunting, honestly, but it was really a blessing to be able to approach all these things.
From what you've told me, too, it sounds like even your spiritual community was very supportive, and you had a lot of chances to do music there, too, right?
Well, absolutely. So I started off at a private Jewish day school for a little bit of my life. First of all, when I was in preschool, I went to this place called Children's Circle Nursery School. It was off of Victory in Woodman. It doesn't exist anymore, but it was this very focused on learning through play environment.
Yeah,
so,
that sounds great.
Yeah, I started with music there, and we would have music every day, and people would come in with guitars, and so I started surrounded by music in the first place. Then I went to a Jewish day school, and I was in choir every week because that was a class that we had to do, and we had a little showcase at the end of the year where all the grades would sing a song.
Was this traditional Jewish music or modern or a little bit of both?
One of the songs that I remember us doing was Roar by Katy Perry.
Yeah.
And we sang that as a song, but then also some Jewish songs as well, but more the folky kind of modern, spiritual Judaism. And then another part of it is the religious aspect. A lot of the Jewish prayers are singing. So at home at Shabbat dinner, we would sing several blessings together before we sit down to eat. And on the high holidays where we go to temple, that's all singing as well. So really, in the really religious realm of Judaism, there is a lot of singing involved. And it doesn't matter if you go to conservative or Orthodox or Reform synagogues, they're all going to be centered around some sort of singing. The Orthodox, they don't have instruments with them. The Reform, they absolutely do. But music is really a part of the religion, I would say for sure, that brings us all together.
It sounds like even at an early age, singing was like breathing for you because you're just doing it everywhere you go.
Yeah, singing has absolutely been a part of my life that I never had to second guess.
I just thought of this. I remember when I was younger, my parents had this wonderful house, but the basement was kind of scary. And every time I went down to like get the laundry, I would sing because I was terrified of like the darkness. Have you ever sang when you're nervous or worried about something?
So, no basement. I grew up in LA. We don't really have those.
Yeah, what are those? We're making too much money with storage.
Yeah, absolutely. Music is a way to get through fear. My personal association with music is it's just always playing through my head.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily like a fear thing. I'm just walking up the stairs between classes and there's something playing in my head and I have to fight not to sing it out loud because everybody's going to turn and stare at me.
I think I'm asking that, I've worked with a lot of neurodivergent kids before and people that are having challenging situations. Sometimes I tell them if you're having anxiety to start to sing because you have to breathe to sing.
So I have seen some music therapy in action and I totally support that. I think it definitely works. The way that I approach my anxiety is through writing, actually. So when I am...
Like processing through the words?
So usually some form of poetry or songwriting, actually, in order for me to get out what I'm feeling. As soon as I get it on paper, I tend to feel better about it.
Yeah.
But definitely music as well, like a familiar song can definitely calm me down when I'm feeling stressed.
Here's a very serious question. Do you think creativity could be implemented in curing people or at least helping people with mental health struggles like depression, anxiety, any specific insight? Creativity as a whole.
That's a great question. The first thing that this makes me think of isn't necessarily mental health struggles, but like critical thinking. I noticed that with the rise of technology and AI and all these tools that we have for ourselves, there's sort of a decrease in my own personal desire to challenge myself cognitively and really work to uncover or understand something. And music isn't something that I can use those tools for. Like if I was something that I personally want to do, I want to improve at my jazz vocal improvisation, like scatting and runs and riffs and all that. That's not something that I can have the internet do for me. It's something that I have to practice, rehearse, learn. I have to really actively listen and discover. And I think in that way, music can really be helpful in advancing your own cognitive skills. It's an incredible tool. It ties into math a lot, like it ties into a bunch of things. Something else that I think of when it comes to music, I know that's not creativity, but something else that I think ties into music is listening to music helps people process their emotions. Creating and listening. I think creating in any sense is actually really helpful in dealing with struggles. I personally, when I was having a hard time because of COVID, because who wasn't? The way that I got through that, the way that I felt better was creating by putting something, like taking something out of me and putting it into the world, making art, making music. It is really healing and it helps you process because you kind of have to slow down and think about what you want to put down onto whatever medium is in front of you. I think in that sense, it definitely helps. You know what? Actually, there's this man. His name's Tomer Perez, and he has this program. It's called the 8 Project. I'm going to tell you a little bit about this.
Okay.
On October 7th, a lot of people were severely affected. Their families, their friends were killed. They were injured. Some of them in their homes, some of them at a music festival. October 7th, 2023.
Okay.
And Tomer went with the reserve duty to go in, kind of be some of the first forces to see the horrors of the terrorist attack that was inflicted on a lot of really devastated communities and homes. And he was an artist before that, a very fantastic artist. He does some really detailed, realistic portraits, work, stuff like that. And when he got home, he really wasn't himself anymore. And the way that he healed was through making art to process his work. He came up with this thing called the 8 Project, where he has an art studio somewhere in LA. And he did 2 different things. He first brought artists from Israel who were suffering, whose family, whose friends were taken, murdered, affected in this, and who were artists. And he presented the opportunity for them to come and be part of his program where they were working through trauma by creating art. And like sort of an art intensive. I don't know like all the details.
Right.
But I've seen some of the work that they've done. I've met some of the artists, and it's a program that's truly helping them. And then another thing that he's done...
Sounds very cathartic.
From what I've seen, it has been.
Yeah.
And I saw him after October 7th, 2023, and I saw him more recently, and he looks like he's so much happier. He has his purpose. He's not... Like, it really destroyed people, October 7th. A lot of Israelis, a lot of Jews worldwide. Everybody knows someone that was affected, and if they didn't, we've all seen and heard their stories online while we were waiting for them to come home, and it really deeply impacted all of us.
Right.
But another thing that he did was these interactive art installations where just people could go and do their own art and heal as a community through that. I highly recommend looking at that, but I think that's a really powerful example
Sounds
of
really
creativity healing.
transformative.
From what I've seen, it definitely has been. My mom actually, she went to one of his workshops and she brought home a jacket that she made. It was covered with these symbols of things that were important to her, and she was like, she was just talking about how incredible of an experience it was for her. He's really incredible.
Sounds really interactive.
Yeah.
When I started subbing here at Champs, I subbed for the music program for 2 months. I heard about this wonderful teacher that used to be here named Miss Paige, but I never got to meet her. Tell me what everybody liked about her, especially you, your former choir teacher. You know, how did she inspire you? What did you most appreciate about her teaching style?
I'm going to first tell you about my first interaction with her, because I think it shows something about her character and who she is as a person, okay? So when I came to orientation at Champs Charter in my 8th grade year over the summer, I wanted to be in choir. I knew I wanted to be in the vocal program, and I wanted to audition for the chamber choir. And I came after all the orientation, I stopped by the choir room, and she was hanging out in there with some of the students, and she was like, "Come on in. This is like a welcoming community. We're happy to have you here." Some of the other students who had the choir students had volunteered to hang out and meet the incoming kids. And I think, like, she didn't have to do that. The fact that she was there and she had the space for us available was really incredible. She took the time and she made the space available for us. And that was really an incredible moment for me. I immediately felt like this really wonderful, comfortable space. There was a couch. There was a wall of music memes on the wall. And the people, like the children in the classroom, the students in the classroom, just really seemed to love what they had there. And I remember I wanted to audition for the chamber choir, and I was terrified, and she was so encouraging.
What does chamber choir mean?
So a chamber choir is a smaller, like more intensive choir. It's like, I would say, an honors class versus a regular class. It's more difficult, intense.
Very specified.
Yeah, so in this case, it was more complex music, harder harmonies maybe. Some of the stuff that we did had very different rhythms. Some of it was college-level work.
Yeah, so you went in there, it's already kind of an intimidating idea. Chamber
a little
choir,
scared, but I wanted
But right
it.
away, she calmed you down and made you feel at home.
She was so welcoming, but also very talented, very professional. I loved getting to learn from her. She was a phenomenal conductor, first of all. which was a step up because I didn't really like my middle school choir. I didn't really like the teacher. Sometimes I was the only one singing a harmony for like one note because the teacher would ask me to do that and I'd be like, okay, sure. Sometimes she would teach us a song in the beginning of the school year in harmonies, and then by the end of the school year we didn't have the harmonies anymore and she didn't care. And she never gave us sheet music either.
Right.
And I was like, well, I can't read sheet music, so it doesn't matter, but it would be useful to follow it along because we had to memorize it. Even though we couldn't read sheet music, Miss Paige was always, like, some of us couldn't, a lot of us couldn't. That's kind of a thing with choir singers is the band at my middle school, they learned to read music, but the choir didn't. And it kind of enforces these stereotypes from a young age.
Right.
But we don't have to get into that. She had all of us have the music in front of us. And she was like, if you know where the notes can go up, where the notes are going up and down, and you can notice that, you're halfway to reading sheet music. That's most of it. So she was so encouraging. She just felt like a really safe space. And she was so passionate about music and treating us like professionals, where I felt like a student. I felt like I was learning, but really I felt capable. She treated us like we were capable. She challenged us to do things that were difficult, but she wasn't mean. She did it in encouraging ways. Something that I really appreciated is that just by listening to us, she could hear what we were struggling with, and she could point it out and be like, okay, I see that this is something that you guys are having a hard time with. We're going to work on this right now. Or I'm going to explain this to you in a different way, and maybe you'll process it more this way, even though I process it more the way that I explained it. And she went to such lengths to create an environment that really felt like a family for me. I really loved the other people in choir, and I loved getting to be part of that environment. It was a really special space for me, and it was a discovery of choir in a way that I didn't know it previously. It was positive, it was encouraging. I felt like I was learning. I was doing things that really, they were new. I was doing music in Latin. I discovered vocal jazz through choral music. We did an arrangement of Vincent, Starry, Starry Night by Don McLean. That is the first piece of choral music that I cried to. I would go home and I would sing my part over and over again, and I would hear the harmonies in my head. And that song was just so beautiful to me. And that was actually my sort of introduction to jazz and how I got into it now. That, like, I'm going to school for vocal jazz. The way that I found it is through that vocal jazz arrangement. And the fact that she was able to do a very difficult choir piece with dissonant harmonies and at times like 7 different vocal parts at once with a choir of like 20 kids. 20 kids.
Wow.
And she was able to do this incredible music. And she had capabilities that I will never understand. She is a phenomenal person. I still talk to her occasionally. And it was an experience like no other. And it made me really just love choral music to a much greater extent. I discovered that choir music was more than I thought it could be. Here's another example, okay? In my middle school choir, I asked for the winter show if we could do some Jewish choir music, and my teacher was like, okay, sure, and she picked the song that I guess was quote-unquote Jewish. It was Jewish lyrics, but it sounded like church music. It didn't sound like my music.
Right.
When Miss Paige actually came up to me, she was like, hey, do you have any songs that you would like for us to use that are Jewish for the winter concert? And I was like, yes, absolutely. And she let me actually conduct one of those pieces when we were performing it for our winter magical. I could talk about her for hours. She encouraged people to do things. She pushed people to try for solos. Even when they didn't believe that they were soloists, she pushed people to be able to hold harmonies. And also, she was such a safe space. It didn't matter if you were in her classes or not. She was always there for you. There was a couch in that classroom. When I was having a hard day, would sit on that couch and cry sometimes, you know? She let me host my Jewish club in that room.
Wow.
And she was super encouraging, and she helped me out, and she listened. And, I could talk about her endlessly, but she was a phenomenal, inspiring teacher, a total nerd, by the way. That's one of the things that made her incredible as a teacher, is because she was such an intuitive and knowledgeable musician. She did her own arrangements for us when she didn't like the way that something was arranged because it didn't fit our choir specifically. She was really good at finding songs that fit the division of our choir and figuring out what your voice could handle.
It sounds to me like she could see potential in students that maybe they didn't even know they had.
Absolutely. I would say that.
Yeah.
I would definitely say that.
Sounds like, for me, she had everything that a good teacher should have and more.
She is one of several people at Champs who made me realize what learning looks like. Yeah. And there are other teachers at the school who are like that. Mr. Beerbin is one of them. Mr. Ballestero is one of them. Mr. Lee is one of them, where I feel like Mr. Dorless is one of them, both of them, where I feel like I'm really pushed to learn and discover new things. But she was by far the teacher that I connected the most with at the school. It really felt like choir was my home.
Tell me about your Jewish youth choir, HaZamir. How important is spirituality to you, and how is it intertwined with your creativity?
So, my Jewish youth choir, HaZamir, is very awesome. The full name is the International Jewish Youth Choir, and it's part of this larger Jewish choral organization called Zamir that was created and run by Maestro Mati Lazar. He's phenomenal. So this choir actually has chapters all across the U.S. and Israel, and there's conductors, or like sometimes they're cantors from synagogues, but they're conductors who put together their own chapter and teach them the repertoire, and then in the spring they all come together and perform, which is it's a really incredible experience. For me, it was really moving. I learned about it in my junior year, and I immediately joined, and it's been a phenomenal experience for me. You asked about spirituality. So something that I didn't have access to for most of my life was Jewish choral music that had the same complexity and depth and the same like challenging facets that a lot of Christian music does. Like, for example, there's a song that we did 2 years ago in the chamber choir here at Champs called Conversion of Saul. Incredible song. Very difficult. Very inspiring and moving. And it's very difficult, for me at least, to find Jewish music that is similar to that. So the HaZamir was created in order for there to be a space like that for Jewish kids who like music and want to be connected to Jewish music and Jewish culture. So it is a choir, but at its core, it's a community, because I have found a space of people who care about the same things that I do and are choosing to take hours out of their weeks and months and days out of their March to go, or April or whenever they do it. For me, it's been March both years. But take time out of their spring to spend 4 days in a small hotel just practicing music every single day until your performance, and be in this space and engage with this music. I loved finding good Jewish music. Not that there isn't any, but complex harmonies. I was challenged.
You like to be
The
challenged.
conductor reminded me of Miss Paige. He also could kind of hear what you were, my conductor for my chapter.
Right.
He could hear what you were struggling with and help you improve, and it felt like he was preparing us for the real world of music. He would, like, for example, he would conduct a piece with a specific ending consistently, and then all of a sudden he'd do it differently, and he'd be like, you guys are on autopilot. You can't be on autopilot.
Yeah.
You have to pay attention to the conductor. And it like just trained all these good habits in me. As far as spirituality goes, I connected a lot, not only to the people in the choir, but the music, because it is the stories of my culture.
Right.
I found this choir in the fall of 2024, and that was after a really big traumatizing event had happened in the Jewish community, October 7th, in the terrorist attacks in 2023. And I found a community that was healing together. There are Israeli chapters of HaZamir, and a lot of them were actually affected directly by October 7th. And they got to come to the space and see American kids who were mourning with them and kind of just living with them in this space. And it affected them. It affected us to see these kids come from such a difficult situation and just be full of joy and excitement and delight to perform this music that brought us all together. Something about HaZamir that specifically helped me was the chamber choir, where I got to sit with the maestro, Meital, and we not only practiced music and improved it, but he really told us in depth about the meaning behind these pieces, why he'd chosen them, how they connect to our culture and our history.
Yeah.
And it made being part of the choir and the music so much more powerful for me.
Yeah.
And it made me feel honored to be a part of this community. And as much as I love choir, I had never felt that before. I'd never felt like music
all
was
encompassing for everything about you.
Yeah, absolutely. I was like, this is my place. And I'm sad that I'm graduating because I have to leave it all behind.
I'm sure you'll have more adventures. You recently performed at Carnegie Hall and Lincoln Center. What were you doing there? Who did you perform with? And how was it for you?
So I actually performed with the HaZamir Jewish Youth Choir, which was incredible. I got to be a alto in the ensemble choir, like the general choir, alto 2, which was really fun. The songs did split on some of the pieces, which I always love because the more harmonies, the better for me. That doesn't relate to every piece, but personally, I love sometimes like just standing in a room with a bunch of people and we're all singing a different harmony. That's a lot of fun. I was honored to be on a stage like Carnegie Hall last year. That was an insane opportunity. And then I also performed with the chamber choir. Yeah. And we sang those songs as well, which was incredible. It was insane. It was a smaller group. It was around 40, 50 of us probably. And getting to perform that was incredible. I really, really loved it. The acoustics were so good. Yeah. And it was just incredible to be standing in this space and performing in this space where so many phenomenal people have been.
Serious vibe there.
Yeah. It was overwhelming. It was incredible. There were too many stairs at Carnegie Hall, but other than that, I enjoyed it. Calls. Thank you. I appreciate that. You got to change it for next time I'm there. It's not right.
Let me see what I can do.
And then Lincoln Center, again, that was just a few months ago. Incredible. Unfortunately, the Israelis couldn't make it this time because the flights were shut down with the war with Iran. It still was a phenomenal experience, and I was so grateful to be a part of it. So much fun. Singing on a stage. As you know, at Champs, we don't have the biggest stages available to us. It was a pivotal experience for me both times to be like, just to see an audience full of people and be performing stuff that, once again, it's meaningful to me. Yeah. It inspired me, really. I want to be back there, you know?
I think as a musician, singer, all those things, if you're good, if you really grow, you should be able to perform anywhere, whether it's a small room, a big room, but boy, what a difference in the places that you go,
Absolutely.
Right? And that brings me to my next question. For you, what's the difference between singing alone and then with a choir? What does each experience provide for you, and how does it differ?
So the main difference between singing alone and with a choir is that with a choir, you have a bit of a fail-safe to fall back on. If you mess up, especially the larger the ensemble, the safer you feel. Because if
it wasn't me.
Unless you're singing in unison, and then you're really screwed. Yeah. But when you're singing in harmonies, the audience isn't really going to notice if you mess something up. As long as it's not like tremendously bad. Right. So there's a bit of this fail-safe, whereas if you are singing alone, you don't have that. I just recently performed alone. I just sang like the national anthem opening an event, and it was incredible, but it was also
No pressure.
it was terrifying because I'm alone on a stage in front of people singing a song that is incredibly important to the people here. And if I mess up, they will notice because they all know this melody.
Right.
So that is a main thing with singing alone. Another difference is that you have more vocal creativity, I would say. Especially if you're singing something original, or two, if you're singing a cover of an existing piece, you can put your own flair, you can put your own spin on it. When I sing covers, I like to throw my own thing in there.
Of course.
Why
bother?
Make it yours. Of course, the original is good, which is why you like it. But if you're singing on your own, you want to throw something in there that makes it yours. Totally and even if you don't do any of that, even if you're singing it by the book, you don't sound the same as the other vocalist. You're going to have different intonation, probably.
Inflections.
Inflections. You have a different timbre of your voice naturally. Right. Like me personally, I can sing in a jazz way. I can sing in a musical theater way. I can sing in a choir way. I have the ability to manipulate my voice and my performance a lot.
Right.
There's a difference in stage presence as well. When you're singing in a choir, you are supposed to be part of a whole.
Right.
You're not supposed to be noticed, whereas if you are a solo singer, the whole point is to be bold and like take up space, really. Like your personality is supposed to fill the stage. I feel there's a lot of benefits to both. I love harmonies. I love complex chords and jazzy sounds, and I love what you can get out of a choir. One of the most incredible feelings is when you're in a choir and you manage to go from like forte to piano or something like that.
Dynamics,
dynamic changes, or like also just singing different chords and the balance is just right. It is a phenomenal feeling, and it is a blessing to be part of choir and be in a space where you have all these other people who love music and learn a song so that you can perform it together. It is just such a great feeling. And then solo singing is also really fun. It's really liberating if there's not an audience. You get to improv if you want, but you don't have to. If you're singing with a live band, that's also really fun because in some senses you're kind of a leader of the group, and you get to choose a direction and a sound, and it's a really good lesson in collaboration and being a leader. I've gotten to do a little bit of that recently, and it's been really enjoyable and educational. Very different experiences, both very valuable and very important, I think, in the steps to being a musician, is learning how to excel on your own and excel in a group.
Being versatile.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So when I grew up, my father was in kind of what I would call an amateur barbershop quartet, and they would sing at our house once a week. And then as I got older, I listened to musicals like The Music Man, what had a lot of barbershop harmonies. And those harmonies to me are so specific and unique, and nothing sounds like that, right?
Crunchy.
Yeah. How did you get into that type of singing with those harmonies?
So actually, my introduction to barbershop music was one of my close friends who moved to Champs from a different school in my sophomore year. And she, at her previous school, had been part of their barbershop quartet. Well, it wasn't necessarily a quartet, but their barbershop club. And she brought that to our school, and I really enjoyed it. The harmonies are fun.
It's got those sliding notes.
The slides. Yeah. It's a very specific type of music.
You kind of have to play by the rules.
First of all, you do. It's the a cappella aspect of it, and you have to be really in tune because these chords are so intense, and that's difficult to do as a high schooler. It always
sounds to me like, especially during the slides, like it's just about to fall apart, but then it doesn't.
Oh, absolutely. Yes, it does. So, our barbershop club participated in this thing called Diva Day, which is like for girl barbershop quartets. And
that I've never seen before. That is so cool. Girl
it's cool.
Barbershop quartets.
And just it's like a girl barbershop organization. All these different schools, they learn the music. and they come together and we sing it together. And
That's amazing. You still do that?
No, I did that my sophomore and junior year. And we also, you can take your own quartet and you can learn a piece and you can sing it for the judges, and they might let you sing it at the show at the end of the day. I got to learn songs with the barbershop, the larger group, and sing that in a stage setting, which once again, really nice. Love the fail-safe of there being a bunch of people. I love the sound of there being a bunch of people. It's really fun. And then also one of those years I got to perform with our own quartet that me and my friends made. Also an incredible experience. I sing bass. I'm not a bass. Or a true alto. Right. So barbershop terms, it's bass, baritone, tenor, lead. And that translates for treble as well. It's just the same words. So I sing bass. I'm not really a bass. And so I found that a little bit difficult, but very fun because I got to be the root of all the chords.
Yeah.
And I did have to octave up some of the notes, but that's okay. It was still very fun. And I got to really enjoy barbershop music. But at some point, they also do a showcase of some really good adult treble barbershops for us at Diva Day. And at one point, I was like, okay, this is too much. It's a little too crunchy. It's starting to not sound nice. But then I got over it. Then I was like, okay, this is really fun.
You just added that to your arsenal of experiences.
Yeah, it's a really great experience. And also, it's one of those things where, especially if you're the only one holding your part, you have to be really tuned in.
Absolutely.
You have to, because it, as you said, it just falls apart otherwise.
What do you learn at your private lessons with Gilat Rapaport? How does she inspire you? What techniques have you learned from her?
So I've been taking vocal lessons with her for most of high school, with a few instances where I've just been too busy with school stuff to be able to, a few instances where I haven't had free time to go to lessons. I've learned to, in terms of technique, I've learned how to use my voice effectively. I've improved my projection skills. If you know about your head voice and your mix, I couldn't really access my mix when I first started meeting with her. I can now. My head voice was very airy and breathy when I first started working with her. And now that's still something I can access, but I'm able to have a more powerful head voice, which is something that's very difficult to do, but something that she's helped me with. She's a very talented musician and also a very talented teacher. This is a reoccurring theme with the teaching figures in my life, but the people that I end up learning from are very good at articulating what you need improvement on and how so. I've definitely learned a lot from that. She inspires me because she helps me see what's possible as a musician. She does some really incredible things. She's sung at weddings and events and all these things, and I learn a lot about marketing a little. Well, that's more recently as I've been like, oh, I actually want to get into music. But
representing yourself,
Yeah, absolutely. And she's taught me about that. But just about being an effective and a confident performer. She's helped me with that. A really big part of singing is posture.
Yeah.
And that's something when I'm in choirs especially, but I kind of use my shoulders to express myself when I'm singing, so I kind of bend in,
right?
Which is not an effective way to sing. So she's had to train me out of that. She's also helped me with breathing effectively, which is very important. Did you know when you sing, you're supposed to breathe from your stomach more than your chest because of your diaphragm,
right? And
all this nerd stuff.
Yeah.
So I learned all that. She is very talented, and I have learned so much from her, and I'm going to miss her when I leave.
Well, speaking of the future, are you going to go to college? If you are, where are you going to go, and what would you like to study? Are you going to stick with music or do something else?
So I am going to Berklee College of Music in Boston for vocal jazz.
Wonderful place.
So I've heard. I'm going to visit this summer. I have a friend from HaZamir who's also going to Berklee.
Oh, cool.
He's going as a classical guitarist. He's very talented. I am very excited to be learning more about vocal jazz and performance, and also be in a place where there are a lot of other young people who want to pursue music the same way that I do. I am doing a gap year first because while it's the thing that I want to do the most, I also want to take some time to learn how to be an adult and not in the school system.
Yeah.
So
I think that's really wise.
Why, thank you. It's also a little bit of fear, but whatever works,
No,
right?
it's good because, wherever you go, college costs a lot of money.
This is
So
true.
a lot of your time, I always say to parents, college is wonderful, but it's probably for a young person, they want all the freedom in the world, but they're about to get more pressure than they ever did. And that can be a lethal combination. So if you get your head straight before you go there and you're focused, I think it'll go better.
Yeah. There's a lot of things that I'm excited about Berklee. First of all, Boston as a whole.
Great music town.
Weather, East Coast, music, some form of public transportation, all these things.
You're going to have to deal with Mass Ave.
With what?
Mass Ave. It's a very big, busy, long street there.
I'm going to have to deal with snow, too, which is scary.
But you know what's great about Berklee is a lot of the best music schools in our country, they're very selective. They only pick very few people. More people can get into Berklee than some other schools. So I think you're going to have more chances to play. You're going to meet more people. And so I'm excited for you to do that because not only in the school, but it's a great music town. So
Berklee also has like the online schools and all that. They really make their music accessible. One of the reasons that I chose Berklee is because I really don't want to do like classical solo singing. I don't want to do opera. I don't want to sing Italian.
Right.
I don't want to do any of that. That's not interesting to me. I like contemporary modern music, and it is a place that I am hoping and have been told is really good for that.
I think they offer everything, and I think you'd be really happy there.
I'm going to take a bunch of different classes because also I want to learn about a lot of different facets that go into being a music professional.
Yeah.
They have music producing class. They have actually a music business major that you can do. I'm not doing that. But there are a lot of resources there for being a good musician, which of course there are at a lot of places, but I'm really excited to be there.
All right, here's a quote by one of my favorite musicians, artists. His name is Brian Eno. He once said, "I believe that singing is the key to a long life, a good figure, a stable temperament, increased intelligence, new friends, super self-confidence, and a better sense of humor."
Okay. I'm going to approach this with the first thing that I think of, and then I think I'm going to go in and try and address these a little bit one by one, okay? The first thing that I think of is that music isn't necessarily, or singing, this is singing, but music isn't something that you have to be good at to enjoy. I think it is a social thing. I think it's a healing thing. I think it brings joy and it helps you express emotions. I think there's something about making music with your own body, because your voice is an instrument, truly, but it's a very unique one because, like, right now, I can tell that my voice is a little under the weather. I can't, like, tell that from my piano or my saxophone, really.
Right.
Like, I can't really feel all the ins and outs, and I think your voice is a very powerful instrument and tool, but it also doesn't have to be seen as just a tool, because it's something that it's a really strong facet of your everyday life, and singing is something that is done recreationally. It's something that we do even if we're bad at it, right? Like there's karaoke and you're supposed to be bad at karaoke and you sing at campfires and you sing at concerts and you sing at religious spaces. I think in a lot of different cultures, it's a way that we connect. You sing to babies, you sing to children, you sing to old people when they have dementia and they don't remember anything.
Right.
Like, I think music is very powerful. I think singing is the most powerful because it's so accessible. You don't need any tools to sing.
Right.
You don't need any
Everybody
instruments.
can relate.
Everybody can be a part of this. And I think in that way, like, it really connects us. Music is the universal language. Singing is even more so, I would say. Okay, I'm going to look at a few of these. Key to a long life? I don't know. I don't have a long life. I'm 18. What would I know? A good figure? Okay. A stable temperament, I would agree with. When I'm really angry, I calm down when I'm singing. When I'm really sad, I calm down when I'm singing. Increased intelligence, perhaps. I don't know if that's been proven. New friends, for sure. You meet so many people by talking about music that you enjoy.
Yeah.
You want to know something a little bit embarrassing? I was wearing a Journey shirt to school because my dad gave me a Journey shirt. And someone came up to me and was like, "Oh my gosh, I love Journey." And I was like, "I don't know any of their music. I'm just wearing this shirt."
I gotta say, I know I'm a lot older than everybody here in the school, but I see a lot of students with Bad Brains t-shirts. I'm like, do you know one song by them or the Susie and the Banshees or stuff like that? I know that a lot of that is parents are buying shirts for their favorite artists for the kids, but sometimes they do know.
I have an Ani DeFranco shirt that was my mother's, and I actually don't know a lot of her music, but
She's actually
it's a good
from
shirt.
Where I'm from. She's amazing.
She's very talented.
Yeah, really powerful voice, by the way.
There's some music where I think it's universal because I grew up with it, but then again, my 13-year-old cousin didn't know the song Vienna by Billy Joel, and I had to play it to her and be like, this is a masterpiece.
You know what
you
it
have
is,
to
though?
know
There
this.
is just so much music now.
People
People tell me all the time, different ages. I've got 2 kids. One of my sons is 25, one is 30. They'll play me a song and be like, have you heard this? I'm like, no. How could you not hear this? Because there's so much music everywhere. Like when I grew up, everybody listened to the same music on the same radio station.
It's so easy to make music now, which is phenomenal.
Yeah.
It is so hard to get it to be seen.
Right. Everything is oversaturated because everyone can put something out. And it's everything, books, film, music.
Yeah. And you know what? I believe for all these genres, but I'm thinking in terms of music because that's where we're at right now. I am certain that one of the best musicians of our generation, or several of the best musicians of our generation, nobody knows. They have like maybe 500 listeners on Spotify and nobody's heard of them just because of the way that sharing music works these days and accessing it. It's really different and it's hard to kind of find new people.
There can also be an artist that maybe you and I have never heard of, but somewhere in the country they're out in a field and there's thousands of people watching them. There's just so many kinds.
There's this artist who I love. Her name is Arlo Parks and she's from somewhere in Britain, and her music is phenomenal, and very few people in the U.S. know who she is. She's really big over there, but she doesn't I saw her when she was in L.A., but she doesn't really do tours in the U.S. because nobody knows who she is.
Right.
That's just what happens. A lot of music is kind of regional.
Yeah. So, I think it's good and bad. You know, sometimes you can't get your music where you want, but there's so many types that so many different people are listening to, and it's all good.
Yeah. New friends, definitely. I love singing with people. One of my favorite things actually is if anybody knows the musical Anything Goes and I find that out, I immediately start trying to sing some of the duets with them because those are masterpieces of music. Cole Porter is incredible. And they're great duet pieces as well. Yeah. Anyway, super self-confidence. I don't know how much I agree with this one. I think if you can sing in front of a crowd or in front of any amount of people, that does correlate to a lot of self-confidence. Because personally, I know a lot of people who are phenomenal singers and won't sing in front of people, and people who are not great singers and will sing in front of people, and that's a lot of confidence. And it's not like it's a bad thing. I think everybody should sing, it doesn't matter how good or bad you are, in front of people that you care about. And I think it's sad when people who aren't confident in themselves won't sing because they're scared of being judged for being bad. Who cares if you're bad? Sing because it's fun. Better sense of humor? I neither agree nor disagree. Do I have a good sense of humor? You will have to tell me. Is it because of my singing? I don't know. To be determined, right? Good quote, though. I like that.
How can I help you? Do you have a website? Are you on social media? How can people follow and see what you're up to?
So I don't have much right now. I have a photography account that I am transitioning into being a all-encompassing everything that I want people to see. So it's going to be physical art that I make, stuff that I write, and most importantly, me singing.
I'm sorry, it's social media or a website?
It's social media. I don't have a website.
Okay. And where can they find you? Instagram?
Yes. So it's going to be on Instagram. It's made_by_May, MEI, because I think that's funny. It doesn't correlate to singing necessarily because you don't really make singing, but it does correlate to art and photography and writing and all that. So it's going to stay like that because I like the play on words, but you can find me there. And I can't promise that this stuff on there will be regular, but I will do my best.
Last thing, any upcoming performances? I know you just did a lot of stuff.
I don't have any upcoming performances as of right now. I have a lot of previous performances. I just did Oliver. I just did my national anthem opening. I just did my choir concert in New York. I just did my recital of the LA chapter of HaZamir. All my stuff has already passed tragically, but I'll let you know if there is something.
You got graduation coming up.
That is happening, but unfortunately I'm not performing because that's not really a opportunity for a solo show.
All right. Well, this has been great getting to know you a little bit more. And how about we do this? Take your year off, go to Berklee, and then let's talk again. You tell me what it's like on the East Coast.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Meital, thanks very much.
You're so welcome.
Hello, my name is Jefferson De Leon, and I am a scientist in the biotech sector and a comedy musician, and I am a proud sponsor of the Creativity is the Cure podcast, because creativity is central to who I am and what I do. Check out my creations on my website, jeffersondeleone.com. That is JEFFERSONDELEONE.com.